So Shilpa, what's your understanding of the Web3 space?
I guess it's a decentralized network which kind of gives people some ownership, but I don't understand it well enough, honestly. Yeah.
Um, Gaurav, what's your take?
The only thing that I know about Web3 is that it's different from Web2. So when internet culture started, Web2 started, and there were a lot of centralized companies holding a lot of power. And Web3 is like that next generation of the internet, or the disruption of Web2, where the power does not lie in the hands of a few, and there are a lot of decentralized protocols which distribute that power.
Web3 is just resetting some of the monopolies that were set up in Web2, which kind of go against the principle of the original web. That's how I see it. The system, how it works, and things like that. That's like one aspect, but just on a broader thing, I agree. It's just like giving back the power to everyone equally.
Yeah, it's almost like a natural evolution of the internet, because where the internet didn't start with Web 2, it started with Web 1, right? Which was actually decentralized. When the internet first came out, we did have decentralized protocols like HTTP, like email, right? File transfer protocol. And so back then, though, there was no way to incentivize these open source protocols. Right? They just sort of became the fabric of the internet that Web 2 companies built on and became the Web 2 companies we know of. So Web 3 just seems like, a way to go back to the original roots of the internet, but this time in a more scalable and sort of long-term, futuristic, sustainable way.
We've been talking about giving the power back to the people and all. How is that achieved? That's mainly like when you have a decentralized system, what that means is like no central authority can, if you see some news, media articles, any social platform or something, you see information going down. Usually that's in the control of a central authority, but in decentralized, because it's spread across multiple nodes, not one like power can control it. Also the other thing is because it's distributed, it cannot change without the consensus of the whole network. So you cannot tweak narratives and things like that, and because of that, like everything is just like equally accessible and ever present for everyone. That's like my understanding.
Yeah, yeah. So as they say, history is always written by the victors, right? So here, but now for the first time, we have a way to actually not have that, right? Where when you want to do something on the internet, you can actually break free from people who control the narrative.
So Rohit said one thing, which was, in order for something to be acceptable, everyone else in the network has to, approve of it, or agree to it. But that means that everyone has equal power. Wouldn't that mean that, let's say, one person vetoes something? Wouldn't that count as an abuse of power? Is there like something that I'm missing?
Yeah, basically it's like it's not making every individual all powerful. Instead, it's like making more like a group discussion. So there's something that everyone needs to agree upon. There's not one person who can vote it out. Just like how laws are passed with a certain percentage of
Like
majority.
a diplomacy.
Yeah,
Like a democracy.
Yeah,
yeah,
democracy.
like
Yeah.
a democracy. It's exactly like that.
Yeah. And the key is equal access, right? Everyone should be on the same level playing field, and everyone should have the same access, and no one person should be able to control the rules, right? No one person, one platform should be able to govern the rules for everybody, especially at the scale that we currently have the internet companies doing it.
Also, the other benefit of like blockchain is actually doing what's said. So I'll give you an example. There was like this one popular brand that was doing a lottery, and they promised a winner some XYZ amount, and they said they would pay out, but the winner did not get paid out. So this was like an honor system where you believe someone's word, and you just like, okay, it's an honor system. You're like, okay, they are going to honor it. But sometimes that doesn't happen in the real world, and what the blockchain system enables is you have this math logic, whatever you want to call it. It's all there in the system, and any conditions, they are also there in the system. So say anyone was doing a lottery, they would like enter the conditions at XYZ conditions, XYZ parameters, the person would win the lottery, and if those conditions are met, the lottery is paid out. There's no middleman controlling. Okay, these conditions are met, but okay, we're just going to hold it.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that.
Yeah. So this gets down to the sort of fundamental aspect of Web3 and blockchain is the trust.
Yeah.
Right. The trust is sort of codified into the network and is not left to individuals, because in our society, trust is usually the law, right? And if somebody breaks your trust, we're way to sue in the real world.
Yeah.
But on the internet, typically trust doesn't really exist in the same way it does in the physical world. And so with blockchains now, we have a way to objectively trust what we're doing and saying.
Yeah, that's why it's called trust minimized. Like you do not need to like put as much trust into a particular individual to do something. The code executes stuff, so it's basically performing as per the rules, irrespective of what parties are involved.
And another big aspect besides trust is the ownership aspect, right? So with trust right now, we trust things to work, and we trust people to say that we own things on the internet, we can use these services, but there's no true ownership. True ownership here is codified onto the blockchain. So you don't have to trust a third party. The whole world can prove that you own something when you actually own that.
So, just like how you have your bank accounts and you have your wealth in it, there are these blockchain accounts, and everything you own on the network is linked to your accounts. But, I would like to like dive a little deeper into this, just because, we have Shilpa and Gaurav here who are just understanding blockchain. So clearly there's like this gap in adoption, and we discussed all of these benefits here. What do you guys think is like the barrier, the obstacle, despite having all of these great features, there's like still some way for blockchain to go mainstream. So what do you guys think?
I think I've thought about it a little bit, so I have a couple thoughts on it. One thing being that, after all, whoever runs the country, let's say you live in, is a centralized authority, which is the elected government. And that means even though they represent the people through democracy, after all, they're individuals who hold a lot of power. Adopting something so decentralized would mean letting go of that power and how the country functions. I heard that China adopted, I think, digital currency, which was slightly, interesting, because the entire idea of adopting digital currency and decentralized currency is that someone should not have control over it. And then you have a government adopting that. So, that was an interesting event that took place. And that's one reason I feel the contradiction in centralized power adopting, and the government has to be the one who pushes the technology to the masses, right? Especially in a developing nation like India, where maybe like 50 or more percentage of people don't have access to smartphones. So yeah, but
like
correct me
UPI
if I'm
adoption,
wrong.
how government supported UPI adoption.
Yeah.
Is what I was thinking. But I do think it is because of the lack of awareness and lack of just understanding, probably, right? Like when he said trust minimized. So it's trust minimized because you believe in the logic and you understand the logic. So for you don't have to trust it. But for a new user, I think you have to kind of introduce the logic and then make them understand the technology behind it and how sound it is. That is when the trust minimization truly happens. That is when the ownership makes sense, and that is when every module in it kind of makes sense for you to get into it. So I believe that understanding of how solid the logic is, how I would say impenetrable or things like that, only then a layman or somebody who uses, because when you go to Google, you're just like, okay, Google, hi.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, and this is a problem with also what Gaurav has mentioned. It's just a matter of understanding whether that be for laymen, other people adopting this, or even governments. The way the crypto narrative has been pushed is it's here to replace governments, but maybe not. Like there's like a happy path that everyone can achieve, and even if you like think of it from your like general adoption. Like you think of your parents, your family's friends using it, your non-crypto friends using it. There's like this gap of understanding, and it's human nature is that if you don't understand something, you're naturally going to feel slightly hostile towards it. So like I totally agree with your point. It's just like a matter of helping everyone understand. Here's how you can like benefit from it, or this is how we can work together.
Yeah, yeah. And to your point, right, the governments and the big companies have no real incentives to do this because it's not really their best interest to really make it decentralized. Especially the bigger companies, right? Because I think for them, they would rather stay in control, right? Who would not rather do that?
Yeah, that's why they're like adopting their own versions of blockchain tech.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I do feel that we are seeing a slight shift, though, with like seeing a lot of laws passed in the US in favor of this, and I think like following suit, there might be other countries as well that regularize this. Treat it like an actual asset. Give us like more information on how to deal with this. Maybe it's not like a tender, like how the blockchain actually operates as like, okay, crypto can be used for any payments. Maybe it can at least be treated as an asset class. And
And yeah, in terms of awareness,
Yeah.
as you were saying, it definitely is an awareness and education issue. And a big problem there, I think, stems from the technology itself. Because the technology itself is designed in a way to be individualistic, right? Is where you stay in control, and our current Web 2 world doesn't make that easy to understand. Right? As you said, Google makes it very easy, social media makes it very easy if you just go and use something free. Right? So the idea of being free and just click and it works is something we're so used to now. And that this world of Web3 is so different because it keeps all the power with you, which people are just not ready for yet. So I think the industry has a long way to go to try and sort of simplify that initially, simplify the onboarding, and then sort of open up the doors of power to people as they get familiar with it.
an interesting factor, I think, maybe you guys know, I don't know, is that like there's a huge narrative, a huge push around cryptocurrency, but cryptocurrency is actually just a security mechanism used for blockchains to protect everyone's ownership rights and things like that. And like there's a lot of other things. It's just that because the like main things that we see in the news are about decentralized finance, we feel like, okay, this is the whole blockchain space.
Yeah, exactly. So because the finance, right, the moment money is involved, I think the whole world sort of caught on to that. The moment Bitcoin got certain value, people became rich, people became poor, right? And the media sort of took on to that narrative that crypto is all about currencies, which has money and has value, and that it's a gambling mechanism, right? Every few years, people make money, people lose money. Most people then think, okay, it's just an asset class. It's an asset class that's unregulated.
Exactly.
Why should I invest in it? Why should I care about cryptocurrency, right? But it's a whole world out there of Web3 that is not just about the currency. In fact, it's not all about the currency. It's about what the currency stands for.
Yes. Interesting thing. I was just thinking, all of us, we've like, somewhat interacted with the RV space, and not all blockchains, like Bitcoin is the most famous one. So people see the crypto side of it, the trades and all, but then not all blockchains focus on just transactions. There's blockchains that like Arweave itself that's focusing on storage. There's other chains that are focusing on compute as well, like AO. So there's a whole world out there. This is where I feel, personally, Arweave stands, and Parth, you've been in the space as well, so you can weigh in on this. Is like the way Arweave stands apart, like in terms of what it does, is it's built with like solid tech. It's not like really pushing itself out there that, oh, it's like you got to use this, you really got to Arweave. It's just really solid fundamental tech, and any use cases where we really need long-term storage, Arweave is like, okay, we're right here if you ever want to use it. It's just as it when we were talking about like narratives and things like that being tweaked, Arweave was using blockchain tech in such a way where you can preserve the actual story that happened, and then every user is open to make their own judgment about that.
Yeah, and so most blockchains, right, I think the currency aspect of it have corrupted their ideology. Right? They've shipped something which was not ready, which is how, I mean, we normally ship things in the Web 2 world, right? You ship in iterations. But the unfortunate reality is in the Web 3 world, we're building protocols, we're building networks. So once you launch something and you get network effects, it's very hard to move that network in directions once you have the users, right? So, like in the Web 1 world, we had these protocols that were designed perfectly and that became the foundation of the internet. Right? You don't see HTTP changing too much. You don't see email protocol changing too much, right? People are built on top of them because they are stable protocols. So Arweave really follows that ethos where they perfect the tech and now people are free to build things on top of it, right? The Arweave just makes incremental updates over the last 6-7 years and the tech works, right? Infinitely scalable, permanent storage works. While Ethereum, I guess, being the best example of one of the first compute blockchains, which back then was revolutionary, but now I mean is limited with so many other factors, and they cannot really change their core underlying technology.
Yeah, that's of course Arweave, and like there's also AO, and like AO is a protocol, so it basically allows compute. It's built on top of Arweave, and then they have this new thing called Hyperbeam. The reason I mentioned like Hyperbeam and Arweave is also from an accessibility perspective. Like blockchains are thought to be walled gardens, but you can access Arweave and Hyperbeam through just your web request, like your HTTP, which is, I think a really cool direction. How can we make this as easy for everyone to use? Like, we don't want blockchains to be walled gardens because otherwise it's just going to be the same few thousand people who are using it, and they won't, like everyone else won't receive the benefits. We see, like, we've had this whole conversation about DeFi, and those are the applications that we see the most. But these are almost crypto-first applications. We very rarely see product-first use cases. So, what's your take on that, all of y'all? Do you think that there's a scope for product-first? Is there any like scope for having crypto-first stuff? Any use cases? So, yeah.
So I got a chance to interact with a few products in the space, and they were pretty cool. Like coming from my basic understanding of how the internet works, and I'm not a dev, but like just like how people here at the Bondi House have built their products. It feels like there is for sure a use case to it. Like one example being Arlink, which is trying to help developers deploy their websites, without charging them exorbitantly high fees, by using the RV tech underneath. So that's something that's very cool, and I feel like it doesn't even have. It not only has use cases in the Web3 space, but it's useful to everyone out there who's on the internet, trying to build a website, deploy a website. So examples like that help me understand that there can be product first, applications of Web3.
Yeah, I mean, totally. Just, having that mindset of like, okay, I want something super simple that, either like solves a problem that I'm facing in my daily workflow or makes it easier. And I don't really care what stack it's built on, right? When you think of Google, ChatGPT, whatever, like, how many people care about what's under the hood? It's just that, okay, it's working for me as I expect it to work. It's pretty simple for me, and that's exactly what everyone wants, right? And that, I think that's what will help any Web3 products gain mainstream adoption as well. Just solve a problem and make it look good.
Yeah.
I had the same thought. Like if you solve a problem and you have the added benefits, like you said, like permanent storage and safety and everything, they're all add-ons to solving your problem.
Yeah.
That would be your solution to getting redirected.
Yeah. So because millions of people use things across the internet, right? The internet industry is a huge monopolies in most sectors that millions of people are using. It clearly doesn't work for everyone. So I think Web3 can target those evangelists who don't like the current status quo and sort of get their initial users from there. Because no matter with games, with social media, whether it's search, whether it's web infra, these are all massive billion-dollar industries with millions of users, right? All you need is a couple of 100,000 users to get the ship moving and get started from there. So I would say that it doesn't matter which industry you're in. Across the internet, we have monopolies everywhere, right? We have these giant corporations running companies everywhere. So it doesn't matter where you start and what your idea is. I would say pick something you're passionate about. Pick the industry, pick the product that you really care about, that has some meaning towards you, and you will find the users, because there are users everywhere who do not like the centralized control that we currently live in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it boils down to users, right? Whatever stack you're building with, if you're building a product, you really need users. And for users, all they care is you're simplifying their workflows and you're building it in a way they can very easily use it.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, stories and ownership. I was thinking the simplest solution, like for example, land property documents. The main thing is ownership and long your storage. So it would just make sense for anybody in that segment to get into it, right? So that's a use case somebody can solve.
There are so many cybersecurity attacks, right, that happen because of compromised servers and compromised websites. So with AO, right, every request that you make on the internet, every interaction you do is verified and secured. And with Arweave, right, specifically as you said, the data, I think Arweave is amazing because it's the public data web of the web, right? We have
right.
everything public on Arweave, which is kind of like you can think of the internet's database, essentially.
Yeah, the new internet, in fact.
Exactly. But I think today most people are focused on their own personalized walled gardens of data, right? Every social media website and banks, and people are trying to buy these pieces of data. But as humanity, if we could just collect all the pieces of data on Arweave, right, that can then serve as a foundation for future LLMs to then have a baseline of accuracy.
Yeah, just like a giant repository of all human knowledge, whether that's for like AI or like for future generations to, just go back and say, okay, this is really how the world was. And, okay, I have an understanding, it's not like some victors writing the narrative. It's not someone tweaking the information. This is how it was. And you do what you want with that information.
Exactly. Because with LLMs and new oil, right, every future AI model, it just depends on the data. Right? Your LLM is only as good as the data is trained on. So if the big foundation labs have all the data with them, they will be the only ones who can make these foundation models. So if you have an open database, an open repository of human data, then we can all create the foundation LLMs as well.
Yeah. So again, like quickly just wrapping things up here, based on everything we've discussed, everyone's takes on these topics, do you guys have any final notes, each of y'all? Maybe Gaurav, you can start.
I think, firstly, this conversation was really helpful. So thanks for that, Rohit and Parth. You guys sort of gave us some insights into how to think about Web3 and how to get maybe contribute to getting Web3 into the mainstream. So yeah, that was helpful.
Yeah, similar. The conversation was very insightful. Like a lot of things just popped up and it makes sense. And I'm sure that there is some use case that it will be useful for me and other people to use.
Yeah, there's a long way to go, and like just having these conversations, if you guys have questions, just solving them, or maybe just acknowledging that there's a gap that can be fixed is important, I think, for the blockchain space as well, just to grow.
Yeah, 100%. Having more conversation like this is the way we spread the blockchain, and excited about all the applications people are building to spread the word. So, great.
Great, thank you guys.